Hello, welcome to Pragim Technologies. I am Venkat. This is part 33 of ASP.NET video series. In this session, we'll learn about the ASP.NET calendar properties and events. Before continuing with the session, I strongly recommend to watch part 32 of this video series. Let's drag and drop a calendar control onto the web form. Now, depending on the purpose that we use this calendar for, we can actually associate a caption to the calendar. And the way we do that is by using the caption property. Let's say, for example, I'm using this calendar to display training dates or something. I can associate a caption to that. So, training calendar. And then we can align this caption using caption align property. Let's say I want to align that on the top. I can do that, and so obviously, as you can see here, the caption is shown with its alignment. And the next property that we'll look at is the day header style. Now this property has several style properties that can be customized to change the look and feel of the day header. Now if you're wondering what is day header, this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. that you can see here, and how do we change that, go to the properties window, and then within the properties window you can see day header style property, and you can change a lot of style properties here. For example, the back color, let's say I want to change that to red. I can select and change that to red, and fore color, maybe I want to change it to white. We can do that. So all these properties can be changed. So that's day header style. And day name format, if you look at this, the day name, it's currently 3 letters: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we can change that as well. And the values that it takes are short, first 2 letters, or first letter, shortest. Just by looking at the values that this property takes, we can guess what it might be. For example, if I just select first 2 letters, it's going to show just the first 2 letters. On the other hand, if you just say first letter, we only get the first letter. So that's a day name format property. And if I say shortest, again I get the first 2 letters there. First day of the week, again another property which is interesting is the first day of the week. By default here for this calendar, the first day of the week is Monday. Let's actually put that to full, so that if you put that to full, you get the full name of the day. But instead of that, let's change that to short, which give us the 3 letters. Now look at that, the first day of the week by default is Monday. You can change that if you want to, depending on your shift timings or shift days, to suit your needs. For example, let's say the first day of my week is Wednesday. I can select that. Next, previous format. Now if you look at this, next previous format is set to custom text. So meaning, we can set that custom text there. So next month text here, we are using ampersand GT semicolon, which stands for greater than symbol. Or you can, let's say instead of that one, I want double greater than symbols. I get that there. Similarly, I can also change the prev month text. In this case, instead of that, I want 2 less than symbols. I can do that as well. Instead of that, this next prev format actually takes other values as well. For example, short month, so that will give us a 3-letter month name. Or I can say full month, where it shows the full month name. Similarly, we can select maybe day name format. If you set that to full, then we'll get full day and full month names there. Okay, so those are some of the useful properties, and the most useful property is the selection mode. Depending on this property, you actually decide what elements you want to select within the calendar. Now let's set this to maybe short, and maybe short month. Okay. Now the next property is the selection mode. By default, the selection mode of the calendar is day, which means when we actually run this project and when we try to select dates, we can only select a day within that calendar. Okay, so I cannot select a week or a month. Now, is it possible in the first place to select an entire week? Absolutely. And how do we do that? Change the selection mode of the calendar. Okay, so if you look at the selection mode of the calendar, it actually takes 3 values. So selection mode, currently it is day, but it can be day week, meaning you can select a day or an entire week, or day week month, where you can select a single day, the entire week, or the entire month. Let's say day week month. And the moment I do that, look at that. I can select the week using this greater than symbol. I can select the entire month using this double greater than symbol. Now, are these customizable? Absolutely, you can change them as well. Okay, so select month text, currently it's like two greater than symbols. You can change that if you want to. For example, I can say select month. Okay, so the complete word will be displayed there. Similarly, select week text, we can say select week, and that particular text will be displayed there. When you click that, it selects the entire week. Let's go ahead and run this and see what actually happens when we do that. So when I say select week, look at that, the entire week gets selected. Similarly, I'm selecting this week. If I say select month, all the days from 1st to 30th of November are selected. Okay, now an interesting point arises here. Now, if I have selected all the days within that month, then how do I select, or retrieve the selected dates? Or if I select just this week, so I want the selected dates that the user has selected on the server side. So how do I retrieve them? In the previous session of this video series, we have seen, if a user selects a single date, then we use calendar1.selected date. That property gives us the selected date. But if the user selects the entire week, then how do I select those dates? Okay, let's see that. Now obviously, to select that, this calendar control exposes an event called selection changed event. Okay, whenever the selection in the calendar changes. So now let's say if I want to retrieve the selected date, we can use the selected date property of the calendar control. So calendar1.selected date, let's say to short date string. So now if we run this, and when we select a date within that calendar control, the selected date will be written to the response stream. For example, here I'm selecting November 15, so that gets written. But on the other hand, look at this, I'm trying to select this week here. Now I am only getting the one date, the 21st of November, the first date there, but I want the the range of dates from 21 to 27, all the dates that I have selected. And how do we do that? To do that, there is another property the calendar control exposes called selected dates property. So this is going to return a collection of selected dates. So anytime we have a collection of something, we can use the for each loop through each date, and then do whatever you want. In this case, we want to print the date out. So let's use a for each loop here. So for each, so we know that we are going to get back date time. Let's call that selected date time in calendar1.selected dates. And what do we want to do? We want to print each date that the user has selected. So let's say calendar1, we get the selected date into this variable. So I'm going to use that and then print that out to short date string, and then put an HTML break there. Get rid of this one. Alright. So now if we run this, if we select a single date, then we get just that one date. But if I select a week, I get the entire week. So I select November 15th, and let me select the entire week. I get all the dates within that week from 21st November to 27th November. On the other hand, if I select the entire month, I get all the dates within that month. Okay, so one of the events we have just discussed is the selection changed event. Other important events that this calendar control actually exposes are, maybe day render event. We have discussed about this in the previous session of this video series. So when does this event get fired? This event gets fired, whenever the day in the calendar control is rendered. Let's do one thing. Let's actually get rid of this calendar. Let's drag and drop another calendar control here, and then auto format that so that it looks a little better. I'm selecting colorful there. Okay, so we have this calendar control here. Now if I go to the properties of this calendar control, let's select day render event. Okay, so we have this. When does this day render event gets fired? Every time the day within that calendar control is rendered, that event is fired. So if you look at this, we have 7 rows and 7 columns. Okay, 7 into 7, 49 times for each day this event gets fired. Okay, now this is a very rich event that can be used for a variety of purposes. Let's say, for example, what I want to do basically is within this month, in the month of November, let's say all the event days are actually booked. Let's say this calendar is displaying a list of appointments available, but then all event days 2, 4, 6, 8, these are actually closed for bookings. So I want to put a red cross there, and then I don't want that to be selectable. Okay, is that possible to customize that in such a way? Absolutely. And the event that we use for that purpose is the day render event. So let's see how to actually do that. Okay, so if and I want to do that only for the dates within the current month. So if it is another month date, I don't want to do that. So how do we check if the date belongs to current month? We can use this date render event args e object. So if e dot day dot, and we can basically say is other month. So if this belongs to other month, then we know that property returns true. So it should not belong to other month. And e dot day dot, so day will basically give us the calendar day there, e dot day dot date, and then we can say day, which is nothing but the integer. If that divided by 2 gives us 0, that means that's an even date. So in that case, what do we want to do? We want to set the back color of the cell maybe to red, and maybe the fore color, basically the font color, to white. And I want to bold the text, so e.cell.font.bold is equal to true, and we want to put a red x there, so e.cell.text is equal to x, and then we want to show a tooltip there. When I hover my mouse over that cell, it should show the tooltip, this is closed for booking or just booked. So e.cell, I want to set the tooltip, so tooltip is equal to, maybe I want to just show a message booked. Okay, on the other hand, if it's any other date, if it's an odd date, then I want to show the tooltip as the date is available for booking. So let's display the text there, available. Okay, that's all we have to do. Now if we run this, as you might expect, the day render event will be called for each day, within that. And look at that, all the event dates, they are, the background color is red, and then the X color is white. And when I move my mouse over here on the cell, look at the cell tooltip, it says booked. On the other hand, if I move it here, the tooltip says available. So a lot of customization can be done using this day render event. Alright, so the next event that we will examine today of the calendar control is the visible month changed event. As the name suggests, this event is fired when the visible month in the calendar changes. So let's actually double click that, and let's say response.write month changed. So now if we run this and then click that button, click this so that the month changes, month changed event is fired. Now let's do something interesting about this. Let's say, for example, when I change the month here, I am changing from November to December, and when I click this one, I'm changing from December to January. So as soon as I do that, I want to figure out from which month to which month I have changed. Is there a way to do that? So I want you to print a message here saying month changed from January to February, or February to March, whatever. So how do we do that? How do we get the current month name and the month to which we have changed? And that is using this month changed event args e object. Now if you look at this e here, the month changed event args object, it has two properties, new date and previous date. Okay, now new date is the month that we are going to display, and previous date is the current month that we are in. Okay, so what we basically can do, so new date is going to return the new date, and then when from that date I can actually get the month part of it. So month will give me an integer, but then what I want to do is I want to display an English month name, from Jan to February, February to March. So for that purpose, let's write a simple function which takes in a month number and then return the name of the month as a string. So I have already written a simple method for that. Let's copy that and paste it here. So I'm gonna have this private method, and if you look at this method, it's very simple and straightforward. All it's doing is it's taking in an integer month number, and then it is switching on that integer. If that is 1, then it returns January, otherwise February, March, etc. Now what I'm going to do here, we know that this month property of the new date is going to return an integer. So I'm going to pass this to this method. Okay, so let me call this method get date or get month name, and to this method I am passing in the month number. Okay, so this method will actually return us the new month name. So I'm going to call this new month. Okay, so and if you want the current month or old month, you do the same thing, but then you change the argument that you're passing into this method. Instead of passing in their new date, you will say current, previous date. Okay, and all we have to do at this time, response.write, maybe month changed from, we know what is the old month, so old month plus give a space 2, and then maybe we can pass in new month. That's all we have to do. And this is a little helper method that's taking in a month number and then giving us a month name. Okay, so let's run this now, and as we change the month, it should actually display from what month to what month we have changed. So currently we are on November 2012. When I click this, month changes from November to December, similarly from December to January. Okay, so we have seen all the 3 events that the calendar exposes, selection changed, day render, and visible month changed event. On this slide, you can find resources for ASP.NET C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.